Hey everybody, my name is Matt MacArthur. I'm running for Congress here in the Texas 13th District. For those of y'all who don't know, I'm making some of these little short YouTube videos because I'm finding going to forums, it's kind of hard to really cover a policy in 30 seconds or a minute that you get to answer questions or talking to somebody out on the street. So I want to make some of these videos where I could actually go into depth and detail and give you a good idea of what I'm thinking and what I want to have done. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about my proposal, which is to add 50% to Pell Grants, and also make sure that Pell Grants and federal student aid are going to cover vocational programs and vocational job training. Now, first of all, why do I want to raise the money? A lot of people tell me I should attack the cost of tuition, and trust me, I'd like very much to do that. However, so often the cost of tuition is wrapped up in things like fees. If we've learned something over the past few years in a state like Texas where they cap tuition, it's that the schools are going to make their money somehow. They're going to jack up fees. They're going to jack up parking. They'll find some way to make their money. What we need to do is make sure that students, especially somewhere like District 13 that's rural, where the average per capita income for a family of four is running in the 45, 50,000 range, which is a good amount of this district, the families in it that don't have a lot of money to put a child or two through college can get that money. We should not be making college something. Harvard's one thing, but our state universities should not be something where only the kids whose parents have cash get to go. I feel certain that the cure for cancer is running around in some poor kid's head who never thought he'd go to college. Now, by raising Pell Grants 50%, what that does is it allows people who make an income similar to the per capita income here in District 13 to be able to send their kids to a state university or college. It keeps the amount of money competitive, especially when you take into account books, tuition, and fees. Now, right now, my nephew is attending college. He's at a junior college down in Snyder, Texas. I'm paying for most of it. And I'm also paying for his books. His tuition wasn't horrible this semester. It was about $2,000. Books, $2,200 actually. The books were $700. And apparently at a university, that's only going to go up. Tuition will be significantly higher. We had to pick a junior college for him to go to where the cost was a little bit more reasonable. And I bring that up because there are a lot of families that really struggle with those numbers. And when you look at somebody who, say, runs a farm or something like that, they're taxed the way that they get Pell Grants because if they have a small business, it can look like they make more money than they really do. And my grandparents ran into that with their kids and my grandkids, and their grandkids, when they were getting ready to go off to college. Because while they didn't necessarily bring a lot of money home, put it in their pocket and pay bills with it, they had a business to run. It looked like they made a lot. And I want to see the Pell Grant amount go up. There are too many working families that cannot send their kids to get an education. And I'm looking at Pell Grants that wouldn't cover for somebody who's legitimately broke, even if they got the maximum amount. They're being forced to take out loans. And again, I'm not talking about going to Harvard or Yale or frankly even UT or A&M, the two deregulated colleges in Texas. I'm talking about Canyon, Texas Tech, places like that. Our kids should never have to say, especially the ones who are legitimately poor, well, I guess I can't go to West Texas A&M because the money just isn't there without me going into debt. It's not right. We need to make sure Pell Grants are keeping up with the cost of an education. Now, I also want to make sure it's keeping up with some of the other costs. And this is where fees and books come in. There are some things the federal government can do to cut down on the cost of tuition, and to be sure they should. There's a lot of wasted money in higher education right now. But while they're working on that, we need to make sure that the students living in this district, who, I don't care if they're in Amarillo, Wichita Falls, or Gainesville, or if they grow up in a small town like a Shamrock, Hereford, Dumas, they need to have the same opportunity to get an education and to make sure that they can afford books and the supplies they need. Education is one of the more fundamental things we do as a country. It's one of the few areas that we truly socialize. And it's something that historically we've done very well, but friends, over the last few years it's been lacking. And we need to get back on top of that. I also want to see Pell Grant shifted to more vocational training. Part of my job experience is in the oil field and other parts as a police officer. When I was attending the police officer, I was fortunate enough, I had the money, I could just write a check and buy my books and my uniforms and my other stuff and go. Outside of agencies who pay for the police academy, and right now in the state of Texas, 80% of police officers do not end up going to work for agencies that pay for the academy. Junior colleges put it on, different organizations put them on, and they count for college credit. But I know when I was in the police academy, several students did not have the money to attend because Pell Grants were not covering it. Same with basic EMT school. We need EMTs pretty badly. We need more of them. We need more firefighters. We need people, especially our first responders, who, as a rule, are not paid very well. We don't need them coming out of their basic education that they need to do the job legally. We don't need them coming out swimming in debt. Now, I also mentioned I worked in the oil fields. I was a material control supervisor. I'm going to bring that up because I knew some guys who were things like pipe fitters, pipeline welders, things like that. And they're even the truck drivers. They're making really good money comparatively, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000. Interestingly though, I brought up my nephew who's attending college at Snyder. Initially, he wanted to be a welder. And so he asked his ag teacher, what's the best welding school I could go to? And they told him, it's Tulsa. And he's like, okay. And he comes to me, he's like, Uncle Matt, I want to go be a welder at Tulsa. And then I looked at what Tulsa cost, which was, with books and fees and everything else, going to be about $20,000. And I'm like, you need to pick something else to do because I don't have $20K. And Pell Grants wouldn't cover it. Now, right now, we are having to bring in welders from the Philippines, Mexico, places like that. If you go to Midland, Odessa, where if you want a job, you got one. If you're willing to work hard and get dirty, somebody will pay you too much to do it, and per diem. You're looking at a lot of guys making six figures or close to it out there doing jobs that in the past we might have looked down on. Electricians, pipe fitters, plumbers, welders, structural guys who are building scaffolding, or your operators, and by that I mean crane operators or forklift drivers. To send somebody to be a crane operator would cost about $3,000. Then they'd have to sit second chair with somebody else who actually knows how to drive a crane for a while. The same with running a blade. By that I mean that big thing you see when you go down the highway that has a blade underneath it kicking dirt out the way. Now, in Amarillo or Lubbock, you'd probably make $18, $19 an hour to start with that. In Midland, Odessa, they call that civil work, you'd probably make more like $30. Those operators are making the kind of money we used to think would be reserved for white-collar professions like accountants or lawyers. But because of supply and demand, because not many people can afford to go get the training, so somebody has to go to work as an entry-level guy and then just go through the apprentice process, as opposed to being able to go get a good, solid, well-rounded education in it. We're bringing in people from other countries. That's where a lot of our immigrant jobs are going to. And it's not that Americans won't do the work. I mean, trust me, I saw a lot of Americans really want to do some of those jobs, but they didn't have the licensing or the training. And I think the federal government, it's one thing for us to say that everybody needs to go to college, but I don't believe that everybody does. Not everybody wants to go be a teacher or a social worker. Some guys want to go run a big crane or a bulldozer. I mean, some days I do too. But it's cool. You got a big machinery, get to break things. I mean, it's great. However, it's expensive to get that training. And I think that when the federal government is going to pay for job training or education, we need to take into considerations not the jobs that we all dreamed our kids would get, but the good paying jobs, the jobs with benefits, the jobs who are going to give guys a good solid lifestyle with which to support their family, but the jobs that exist. And right now, in construction, in the oil field, in electrical skills, you can have people get out of a trade school making $80,000 a year, whereas you've got guys going to college making a lot less. And some of the guys that I went to college with that got degrees they can't market are working in places like Foot Locker, or a place you get the hats, lids, whatever it is. And it's because we have always encouraged kids to go to college. Well, guys, the federal government said, well, we're going to help pay for college when it got too expensive. We also need to pay for people to get the jobs. A lot of people would say, why am I paying for somebody to go to truck driving school when they need to pay for it themselves? That's fair. However, if somebody's making minimum wage and working 40 hours a week, they're making $14,000 a year, give or take. And they're not paying very much in taxes. They're probably getting more back than they get. If a guy goes to be a truck driver and let's say he gets the, I don't know, certification to haul water, or forget what it's exactly called, and he goes down to Midland, Odessa to work, he's making $80,000 a year. At that point, he's paying some taxes. See, I don't consider this a socialist program. I consider this an investment because we're going to get our money back. If we paid $3,000 for a guy to go to a school driving a crane, he's walking out of that school even as an apprentice making $28, $30 an hour, plus overtime. On average, he's going to bring in about $90,000 a year in his first year. Once he gets some experience and can run the machine on his own, the low end for that's $40 an hour. So you've got a dude out there making $80,000 a year. Most of them are making overtime, so you're talking 120 or more. And I assure you, with what they charge in taxes right now, we're getting that money back. I see Pell Grants and vocational training not as a socialist program. I see it as an investment. And I think that's how we should treat our federal aid. And right now, our federal aid isn't keeping up, and it's not doing a very good job being an investment program. And if you elect me, because there are a lot of kids in District 13 who want to do something other than go to college. There are a lot of people in District 13 who want to get some training so they can move up or do better in their career. And I'm not against immigration by any means. However, I do believe that the emphasis should be on American workers and American students first, and what we cannot feel, we bring in other people to do. As a result, I want to make sure that we are investing properly. And right now, District 13 needs a lot of investment in their kids and in their workers. And if you elect me, I'm going to make sure that the people who graduate from high school here have the same opportunities of people anywhere else, but more importantly, they're able to fill jobs that actually exist. Anyway, my name is Matt MacArthur. I'm running for Congress, again, here in the Texas 13th District. If you live in this district, I would very much appreciate your consideration. Please feel free to check me out at mattmacarthurforcongress.com, this YouTube channel, Matt MacArthur for Congress, or on Facebook, Matt MacArthur for Texas 13th District. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll vote for me on the Republican primary on March 3rd.